For 8 years, my life with Jake had been a dream come true. We were in love, with 2 beautiful children in a house that felt like a warm embrace every time we walked in. Everything was perfect, until Lily, my older sister, threw a grenade into the heart of our family. Lily had always been different. She was a woman of extremes, love-hate relationships, and her dramatic tendencies were the stuff of family gossip. She couldn't keep a man for long, she had a history of sabotaging her own happiness. But despite her chaotic love life, I had always hoped she'd figure things out. I loved her, after all. We were a family. But that all changed 2 years ago at our 6th wedding anniversary barbecue. The evening had started off well, children running around, family laughing, everyone catching up. It felt like old times. But Lily, with her eyes full of secrets, pulled me aside. I never could have imagined the words that would come next. "Jake and I," she said, her voice a whisper of betrayal, "we've been seeing each other." Her eyes gleamed as she dropped the bomb. I stared at her, certain I'd heard wrong. I tried to laugh it off. It had to be a joke, right? But no. She went on, calm and steady, describing in detail the secret life she claimed Jake and I had been living behind my back. A series of meetings, quiet rendezvous, and hidden texts. She was convinced Jake was having an affair with her, and she claimed she was only telling me for my own good. Her words felt like an ice pick driving straight through my chest. I couldn't breathe. I demanded proof, but she didn't have any. "It was all just trust me," she said. It didn't make sense. Jake was my partner, my best friend. This wasn't just some random accusation, this was my own sister destroying everything. As the night wore on, my world began to unravel. When Lily accused Jake, it was like watching the floor fall out from under me. My own family sided with her immediately. My father, normally the calm voice of reason, was raging at Jake, screaming about how he'd played with Lily's heart. I stood there, frozen, as they ripped apart the very fabric of my life. My sister had lied, this I knew. It wasn't the first time. Jake had always been honest, but the accusations, the sheer venom in Lily's voice, had made everyone believe her. Everyone except me. My parents, who had always been the pillars of my life, now saw me as a woman in denial. They treated Jake like a stranger, someone unworthy of their respect. My world, the safe, cozy world I had built, was now a battleground. The days following the blow-up were suffocating. The whispers behind my back, the cold shoulder from my family, it was unbearable. Jake and I had been pushed into a corner, isolated from everyone we loved. Yet, I held on to the truth. I knew my sister. I knew her well enough to see through her lies. There was no affair, no betrayal, just a desperate woman who would stop at nothing to get attention. My sister had manipulated and twisted the facts before. This was just another chapter in her destructive story. It got worse. As my family dug their heels deeper into their stance, I found myself losing everything. Friends who I thought I could count on turned their backs, siding with Lily. It was as if the world believed her version of events, and I was the villain. My parents didn't even try to hear me out. They wanted to believe Lily because it was easier than facing the truth. So, Jake and I made the hardest decision of our lives. We cut ties. We stopped attending family gatherings, stopped speaking to those who had so blindly believed Lily's lies. The silence was deafening, but necessary for our sanity. Just when I thought the storm had passed, the next chapter of this twisted saga began. Lily got engaged. I stumbled across the announcement online, her beaming smile plastered all over Facebook. Her fiancé, Mark, was the lucky man, the one who had saved her from her supposed pain. The very same pain she had caused by destroying my family. She described their ruined romance like a fairy tale. The lies she told, how she had finally found true love after everything she'd been through, were nothing short of nauseating. The irony wasn't lost on me. She had destroyed my life, accused my husband of an affair, and now she was moving on like nothing had ever happened. My blood boiled as I read through the comments, family members offering congratulations and making snide remarks about me. Good for Lily for moving past the toxicity, they said. She deserves better. I had to hold myself back from writing a response. Part of me wanted to expose her for the manipulative liar she was. But I knew better. This wasn't my fight anymore. But then the phone calls started. Missed calls from an unknown number. They kept coming, and I started to feel a sense of dread creep up my spine. Was it Lily? Had she finally come to her senses? The calls came from Lily herself. She screamed at me. Words that I can't even repeat. She tore into me for betraying her and not supporting her. She raged, her fury so intense I couldn't even get a word in. But what truly made my blood run cold was what she said next. "How could you pretend to be innocent?" She spat, her voice sharp. "After everything you've done." I was left reeling. What had I done? I hadn't done anything except stand by my husband, who had been accused of something utterly false. As the calls continued, a surprising revelation came to light. Mark, her fiancé, had uncovered the truth. He'd heard the rumors and, curious, had done some digging. He discovered the lies Lily had spun not only about me and Jake but about her entire past. Mark, disgusted by what he uncovered, called off the engagement. The facade was crumbling. The family who had once adored her was now turning their backs. They began questioning everything. My parents, once so sure of Lily's truth, were now questioning their own judgment. The collapse of Lily's engagement was a blow to her, but it was a catharsis for me. The truth was out. The family who had chosen her side now realized the extent of her manipulation. But it didn't stop there. My parents started calling again, begging for reconciliation. They wanted their grandchildren back in their lives, but I couldn't ignore the pain they had caused. Despite the overwhelming urge to cut ties completely, I was torn. My children deserved to know their grandparents. But how could I allow them back and after everything they had done? Could I trust them again? Would I ever forgive them? The hardest part was yet to come. My parents, deeply ashamed of their actions, begged for forgiveness. They wanted to repair the rift, but I was cautious. My relationship with them was forever altered. The trust had been shattered. Mark, on the other hand, reached out to apologize. He expressed his regret for not seeing the truth sooner. He too had been a victim of Lily's lies. I knew my life had changed forever, but was there a chance for healing? I'm still grappling with the decision. Part of me wants to reach out to my parents, to try to rebuild. But the other part of me wonders if some things can never be fixed. How do you forgive those who turned on you so easily? Can you ever trust someone who sided with a lie that nearly destroyed your family? As for Lily, she's lost. She's broken. And maybe, just maybe, the best thing for all of us is to let her figure out the consequences of her actions on her own. But through all of this, one thing is clear, my family, the one I thought I knew so well, is never going to be the same. The trust is gone. And I can't help but wonder if I'll ever find a way back to the life I once had. The call that changed everything. After the initial awkwardness of my parents' visit, things began to simmer beneath the surface. Jake and I were still on edge, but the kids were so happy to see their grandparents again, and that was what mattered most. My parents had been silent for so long, and now, suddenly, they wanted to reconnect. The tension in the air felt almost suffocating, as if the truth about what happened hadn't quite sunk in for everyone yet. As the night drew on, I couldn't shake the feeling that something else was going on. After the kids had gone to bed, my mom took me aside, her face flushed with regret. She seemed almost too eager, as if trying to compensate for the past 2 years of believing Lily's lies. "We've missed so much," she said, her voice trembling. "The grandkids, your family. I know I should have been there for you, and I wasn't. I'm sorry." I wanted to believe her, I really did. But the hurt, the betrayal, how could they have so easily sided with Lily without even a second thought? I had been shattered by their actions, and it felt impossible to just let that go, no matter how sincere my mom's words seemed. "I'm sorry, Mom," I said, my voice tight. "But it's not just about the grandkids. It's about everything you let happen. You let Lily tear apart our family, without even questioning her. And it's hurtful. I need time. I need space." Her face fell, and she nodded silently. For the first time in a long while, I felt some semblance of clarity. But as much as I tried to move forward, the lingering mystery of Lily's behavior was like an open wound that refused to heal. One night, about a week after the visit, I received a strange message on Facebook. It wasn't from a family member or friend, but from a woman named Sarah. She claimed she had been one of Lily's friends from a support group she had joined years ago. The message read, "You don't know me, but I've been following your story. I've known Lily for years. She's been a master at hiding her manipulations. I'm writing to you because you need to know the truth about her, and about the affair she told everyone about." I felt a jolt of panic. Who was this woman, and what was she implying? It had to be some kind of sick joke. But curiosity won out, and I messaged her back. After a few exchanges, Sarah shared details that I had never heard before. She told me that Lily's relationship with Jake wasn't just a product of her delusions, but an obsessive fixation that had been building for years. According to Sarah, Lily had always been fixated on my marriage. She even started rumors within their friend group, implying that Jake and I were constantly on the verge of divorce, that I was neglecting him. I had always thought of Lily's behavior as erratic, but to hear that she had been manipulating others for so long sent a chill down my spine. But what was the truth about the affair? Was it really a lie? I had always believed Lily's story was just another twisted scheme to hurt me, but what if there was something more sinister behind it? Weeks passed, and the tension between my family and me remained unresolved. During this time, I began noticing odd things. My parents, who had continued to reach out, now seemed desperate to get back into my life. They sent gifts, flowers, and messages of remorse. But there was something off. It felt almost like a trap. Was this genuine regret, or were they just trying to salvage their own reputation after realizing how badly they had failed me? One evening, just as I was about to go to bed, Jake walked into the room with a letter in his hand. It was addressed to both of us. His expression was unreadable as he handed it to me. It was from Mark, Lily's ex-fiancé. "Read it," Jake said softly, his voice tense. The letter was shocking. Mark apologized profusely for not standing up for Jake and me sooner. But it wasn't just an apology, he revealed something that made my blood run cold. "I never wanted to cause problems," Mark wrote. "But after I broke off the engagement, I found something that I didn't want to believe. Lily had been lying to me about the affair all along. And I know now that she had been planning something far worse than I could ever imagine." The letter went on to explain that Lily had manipulated everyone, including Mark, by planting evidence and convincing him that Jake and I were on the verge of a breakup. She had been feeding him stories of emotional abuse, making Jake out to be a monster. But when Mark started digging into Lily's past, he found out the truth. Lily had always been the one to sabotage her relationships. She had lied about her own behavior, blaming everyone else. And, to make matters worse, she had been secretly plotting to ruin our marriage to make Jake her own. She saw him as a prize to be won, even at the cost of destroying her own sister's happiness. My heart sank. This was the truth. This was what she had been hiding all along. After Mark's revelation, everything started to make sense. Lily's obsessive behavior, her constant undermining of my relationship with Jake, her need to constantly compete with me, it all pointed to the same conclusion. She had been in love with my husband for years, and the affair had never happened. It had all been a twisted fantasy she had created in her mind, a web of lies spun to manipulate everyone around her. But why had she done it? Was it because she felt entitled to everything I had, including Jake? As the full extent of Lily's obsession became clear, I realized that this wasn't just a family conflict, it was something much deeper, something that had been festering for years. Lily had never seen herself as my sister. She had always seen me as competition. A month later, after receiving Mark's letter, I felt the need to confront Lily. It was the only way I could finally end this nightmare. I called her, my heart pounding in my chest. "Lily, it's time we talk," I said firmly. She picked up after a few rings. There was a long pause before she responded, her voice barely a whisper. "What do you want?" "I want the truth," I said. "I know everything. Mark told me what you've been doing. All the lies. All the manipulation. It's time for you to face what you've done." Lily didn't respond at first. But when she spoke, her voice was cold, almost calculating. "You've always had everything. Jake. A family. A perfect life. I just wanted a piece of that. I thought if I could destroy you, I could take your place." I could hardly believe what I was hearing. This wasn't just jealousy, it was something far more dangerous. Lily's obsession had driven her to destroy everything I held dear, and for what? A twisted need for validation? Revenge? "I never wanted to hurt you," I said, my voice breaking. "But you've gone too far. This needs to stop." There was silence on the other end of the line. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely audible. "I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make it right." "You can't fix this," I replied. "You can only stop hurting the people who love you." And with that, I ended the call. There was no point in continuing the conversation. Lily wasn't capable of change, not without professional help. The days that followed were quiet. My family, despite their desperate attempts to reconnect, couldn't undo the damage they had caused. Jake and I continued to focus on our children and our marriage. We had been through enough. And while I hadn't fully reconciled with my parents, I knew that for the sake of my kids, I had to find a way to move forward. They deserved their grandparents in their lives, even if I couldn't heal the rift between us. The journey wasn't easy. But with each passing day, I felt stronger. And for the first time in years, I truly felt at peace. I knew the truth now, about my sister's betrayal, my family's actions, and my own strength. It had taken a toll, but I would come out of it stronger. My family, my children, and my husband, they were my priorities now. And nothing, not even the darkest lies, could tear us apart. This marks the beginning of a new chapter for me and my family. The path ahead will never be easy, but it will be ours. And that's all that matters. If you enjoyed this thrilling journey, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on the latest content. Share this story with your friends, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay tuned for more suspenseful adventures.